Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video for the Apprentice Innovators Challenge for Roboticon 2024. In today's video, we are going to be discussing where to start and how to choose a project that you are actually going to do. Before we discuss how to start, let's first recap what the project themes are so you know where to choose your project. The overall theme is natural disasters, but we have further split that up into two sub-themes. The first is preventative measures. These are things like early warning systems, environmental monitoring robots, and even something like strengthening infrastructure. The second sub-theme is relief measures. These include things like search and rescue robots, the automated delivery of essential supplies, or even something like debris removal and environmental restoration. So how do you go about choosing a project? I would recommend starting off by choosing a natural disaster to focus on. This could be something like an earthquake or even something like a hurricane. Once you have chosen a natural disaster, you need to do some research into that natural disaster and some sort of preventative measures or relief measures that you could try and implement using your robotics kits. For earthquakes, a preventative measure could be something like an early warning system, but a relief measure would be something like rubble removal. For hurricanes, a preventative measure is an early warning and evacuation system that will ensure that no one is in harm's way when the hurricane eventually hits. A relief measure could be essential goods delivery. When a hurricane hits an area, the first thing to go is often water and electricity. So delivering things like food and water to the civilians of the area is often priority number one. Now that you've chosen a natural disaster and a project to go with it, what do you do next? I would recommend breaking your project up into three main parts: your inputs, your process, and your outputs. When looking at your inputs, you need to think about what information will your project need to operate correctly. Does it need to know the temperature of the area, in which case maybe you should add a temperature sensor? Or does it need to know if an object is in the way, in which case you would need something like a motion sensor or a distance sensor? The outputs are all the things that you are going to need in order for your project to actually work and do what it needs to do. If your project needs movement, then maybe you need to add some DC motors to actually move your robot around. If you need to display some information, maybe add something like an LCD screen that will allow you to display text for your project. The last thing you need to do is the process. This is your program where you use your inputs to control your outputs. This is where the processing of all the information will take place. Make sure that you have done all of your research on all of your components as well as your program, and make sure that you know what is happening, because this is what the judges will be asking you about. If you need to know more about a component that is already in your robotics kit, go back and watch that video or redo that lesson to get your information up to scratch. If you have maybe added an extra component, first make sure that it is within budget, but you will need to do your own research into how to use that component, as well as how to explain what it is doing. If a judge notices that you are using an extra component, that is the first thing they are going to ask you to make sure you understand what you are doing with it. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Good luck with choosing your projects as well as getting them started, and I'll see you next time for another video. Goodbye.